Today, Cabinet met and received an update on the COVID-19 outbreak. Cabinet received this update on the country's response to the COVID-19 outbreak. This was presented by the Minister of Defense and War Veterans Affairs as the chairperson of the task force on the country's response to COVID-19 outbreak. Cabinet was informed that as the 20 April, which is yesterday, Zimbabwe's cumulative COVID-19 cases stood at 37,875, with 35,058 recoveries and 1,554 deaths. The recovery rate stood at 93%. 5,810 cases being attributed to local transmission. We've got about 1,275 active cases at the moment. And regarding public transport, Cabinet noted with concern the increased flouting of COVID-19 prevention control measures which is happening in the public transport system. And in this regard, Cabinet agreed that law and order should increase surveillance on public transporters. Cabinet was informed that the number of teachers who are reporting for duty had decreased. It is also further noted that some of those reporting for duty are not teaching the children. Cabinet wishes to reiterate that negotiations for improved conditions of service remain open under the National Joint Negotiating Council, and that the no work, no pay policy will be strictly enforced. Cabinet remains cognizant of the need to fully open all economic activities. However, in the face of the threat of a third wave, Cabinet has deferred consideration of the opening of bars and nightclubs until further notice. Then Cabinet received an update on the procurement and rollout of COVID-19 vaccines. This report was received this report was presented by the Vice President and Minister of Health and Childcare, Honorable C.G.D.N. Chiwenga. Cabinet was informed that a total of 288,229 and 36,778 people had received their first and second dose respectively. This is across the country. The Ministry of Health and Childcare is currently carrying out vaccination campaigns all over the country. Cabinet was advised that the vaccination of residents of border towns, e.g. Mutare, Bedbury, has been prioritized and is well on course. Cabinet notes that the strong COVID-19 surveillance system that government had put in place had enabled the ministry to detect outbreaks early. On the 16th of April 2021, more outbreaks were reported at 2 boarding schools, that is at St. David's Bonda Girls School in Manicaland and Mbakwe High School in Plumtree. There were 145 COVID cases at Bonda and 91 COVID cases from the Mbakwe. Government would like to reassure the nation that the situation is under control and all the cases are mild and asymptomatic. The Ministry of Health and Childcare is testing and vaccinating members in the adjoining communities where the schools are located. All those found positive have been quarantined. The Ministries of Primary and Secondary Education and Ministry of Health and Childcare have intensified enforcement of the COVID-19 standard operating procedures in all schools, and those schools found violating COVID-19 preventive measures will be sanctioned. His Excellency, the President will be receiving his second dose of the COVID-19. Cabinet wishes to assure the nation that citizens can receive their second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine anywhere in the country without prejudice. Then we got a presentation of the National Development Strategy 1, 2021 to 2025, which is it's a compliant plan for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade. Cabinet considered and approved the final Ministerial Action Plan that is compliant with the National Development Strategy 2021 to 2025, and this was presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Honorable Shaw. The Ministry's mission is to promote the political and socio-economic interests, to promote image and influence of Zimbabwe in the international community. It also seeks to protect the interest and safety of Zimbabwean diaspora. The deliverables of the plan of the ministry include the following: appointment of 8 honorary consuls during the 5-year period, establishment of 25 new export markets and facilitating 100 trade investment missions, and improving international relations through such undertakings as signing of 150 cooperation agreements and 26 bilateral investment promotion and protection agreements, BIPAs. The country's image will be improved through the planned 650 public diplomacy and visibility initiatives, both locally and internationally. This will include press releases, holding regular briefings with diplomats who are accredited to Zimbabwe, and delivering lectures at universities and other key national institutions. In line with the Decentralization Devolution Trust, the ministry is in the process of establishing 2 provincial offices, that is one in Blaawali and the other one in Victoria Falls. The Cabinet received a report on the monitoring and evaluation framework for the National Development Strategy 1, NDS 1, 2021-2025. The Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Professor Mtuli Mube, presented the monitoring and evaluation framework for the NDS 1, and this was approved by Cabinet. The nation will recall that the National Development Strategy 1 was launched by His Excellency, Comrade President E.G. Mnangagwa on the 16th of November 2020, with a pledge that the attendant monitoring and evaluation framework would be published in due course in order to ensure that set targets are met. Accordingly, Cabinet was advised that NDS 1 will be implemented and monitored using a thematic working group approach. All the identified benchmarks, targets, milestones, and outcomes will therefore be the responsibility of the Blueprint 14 thematic working group chairs and their co-chairs, and based on 2020 as the baseline year. The framework outlines the annual targets for each national priority area, national key result area, national outcome, and key performance indicators. The national priority areas are as follows: 1. Economic growth and stability. 2. Food security and nutrition. 3. Moving the economy up the value chain and structural transformation. 4. Infrastructure and utilities. 5. Digital economy. 6. Human capital development and innovation. 7. Health and well-being. 8. Image building and international engagement and re-engagement. 9. Devolution and decentralization. 10. Women, youth, sport and culture. 11. Social protection. 12. Environmental protection, climate resilience and natural resources management. 13. Housing delivery. And 14. Governance. It is important to note that these thematic working groups comprise not only government ministries but other key stakeholders such as members of the private sector, members of the academia, and members of the civil society. Annual targets will be reviewed based on quarterly targets attainment, which will be ascertained from reports presented to Cabinet for approval. The monitoring and evaluation engender greater efficiency in assessing progress made in the implementation of NDS 1. Then Cabinet received a report on the Guardianship of Minors Amendment Bill 2020. Cabinet considered and approved the Guardianship of Minors Amendment Bill 2020 as presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, Honorable Ziambe Ziambe, who is Chairman of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. The bill seeks to align provisions of the Guardianship of Minors Act Chapter 5.08 to the current Constitution. The bill provides for the exercise of joint guardianship and custody of parents. The nation is advised that the parents of a minor, whether married or otherwise, shall exercise their rights of guardianship and custody in consultation with each other, provided that where the parents are not living together as husband and wife, the custodial parent shall exercise all guardianship rights in relation to the child in his or her custody, unless the non-custodial parent, by virtue of a court order, whether maintenance order or order of divorce or otherwise, is actually required to be consulted on any issue in connection with joint guardianship of the child. In connection with the order maintenance of the minor, whether or not as part of an order of divorce or separation, the court shall expressly give any direction as to the manner in which the joint guardianship is to be shared or exercised. Then Cabinet received another report on bilateral air search and rescue agreement between the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Botswana. Cabinet considered and approved the bilateral air search and rescue agreement between the two republics as presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, again is the chairperson of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. Cabinet was informed that in terms of the agreement, the Republic of Zimbabwe and the Republic of Botswana will cooperate in the following areas. 1. Exchange of search and rescue information concerning potential distress situations. 2. Supporting each other by pooling search and rescue facilities for operations within their respective search and rescue region. The parties will make and respond to requests for operational assistance between the designated Rescue Coordination Center or Rescue Sub-Center of the parties as capabilities allow. The competent authorities in the respective countries will also exchange information on the available search and rescue resources to ensure mutual knowledge of each other's search and rescue capabilities subject to the parties' domestic laws. This agreement will ensure proper coordination of aeronautical search and rescue services within the territories of the two countries. Cabinet received a memorandum of understanding between the Republics of Zimbabwe and Botswana, and this is on aircraft accidents and serious incidents. Cabinet adopted the memorandum of understanding between the Republics of Zimbabwe and Botswana on aircraft accidents and serious incidents, and this again was presented by the Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs as Chairman of the Cabinet Committee on Legislation. The MOU is in line with the provisions of the Convention on International Civil Aviation. This, which actually both Zimbabwe and Botswana are signatories to. The MOU fosters cooperation between the two states in investigating aircraft accidents and other serious incidents in order to prevent future recurrence or occurrence of same. As such, the memorandum promotes cooperation between Zimbabwe and Botswana on the establishment and implementation of investigation mechanisms, including investigation capacity building arrangements with each other. Each party shall establish a working group of specialists to plan and implement technical exchanges and cooperation between the two countries in the field of aircraft accidents and incidents investigations. This brings us to the end of the post-briefing of Cabinet today. I thank you.